As we watch the Jeffrey Epstein scandal rock the second Trump administration, it's worth remembering this is not something new. This scandal was rocking his first administration, too. It's a saga that everyone has basically forgotten. It revolves around Alex Acosta. That was Trump's pick to be his first Secretary of Labor. It was a little strange at the time because Acosta had limited experience on labor issues.
Now pause. Trump appointing a guy with no real labor background as labor secretary? That's not a red flag, that's a neon billboard. But Acosta's real qualification? He once gave Epstein the legal equivalent of a golden parachute.
But back in 2005, Acosta had been the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. It's a big, important job. And on his watch, the FBI prepared a 53-page federal indictment charging Jeffrey Epstein for sex crimes that could have put him in jail for life. It alleged that Epstein lured a steady stream of underage girls to his Palm Beach mansion to engage in nude massages, masturbation, oral sex, and intercourse. The girls, mostly from disadvantaged, troubled families, were recruited from middle and high schools around Palm Beach County. Middle and high schools. And they were offered money to bring new girls to Epstein.
Recruiting teenage girls from schools like they were some sick shopping ground. And remember, this wasn't some ancient scandal dug out of dusty files. These stories were hidden in plain sight while Trump and his team looked the other way.
6 of those women spoke exclusively to NBC News in 2019 about the abuse they endured.
I think the nature of this kind of abuse means that you're conditioned to be silent, to be isolated, secretive, and shameful.
I feel like, it was a big game for him, and we were the pieces of his game.
And you're like, I'm just not going to say anything because that's what he told me to do.
The women all have familiar stories of grooming, promises, and then sexual assault.
I can relate to pretty much every person sitting here next to me.
That indictment that was prepared by the FBI never saw the light of day. Because in 2008, Alex Acosta made a non-prosecution agreement with Epstein, negotiated in secret with Epstein's lawyers, who include Alan Dershowitz, who would go on to be a lawyer for Donald Trump. And under its terms, the feds would just not bring charges against Epstein. They would shut down their grand jury investigation. They would seal the indictment.
Let that sink in. A secret deal, no federal charges. And Epstein basically got a work from jail pass. Meanwhile, Acosta gets a cabinet job. You couldn't write this level of institutional rot into a House of Cards script. It'd be too on the nose.
Epstein would be prosecuted by local authorities for 2 minor charges. Epstein got a 13-month sentence, but he was allowed to leave jail for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Epstein's victims were left unaware the sweetheart deal had even been cut. A fact Acosta was forced to account for as Trump's labor secretary.
And at the end of
and at the deal in secret?
And at the end of the day,
do you regret making this deal?
Congresswoman, if I could finish, if at the end of the day, Mr. Epstein went to jail, Epstein was incarcerated. He registered as a sex offender. The world was put on notice that he was a sex offender, and the victims received restitution.
13 months in county jail, 12 hours a day, work release. You consider that justice for the devastation of these girls?
13 months? In a county jail? With work release? For serial abuse of minors? If that's justice, then I'm a banana. The system didn't just fail, it held the door open and said, right this way, Mr. Epstein.
Now, by then, victims were not only suing Epstein in court, they were suing the government, saying that Alex Acosta's deal had violated their rights. And it was at that time that the Miami Herald and its incredible investigative reporter, Julie K. Brown, had begun to publish an award-winning series of probes into Epstein's case and specifically the contours of this very strange deal with Acosta. The following July, the FBI finally arrested Jeffrey Epstein on federal charges, and Donald Trump was being forced more and more to answer questions about his well-documented friendship with Epstein. The story wouldn't go away, so just a few days later, Alex Acosta did.
I do not think it is right and fair for this administration's Labor Department to have Epstein as the focus rather than the incredible economy that we have today. And so I called the president this morning. I told him that I thought the right thing was to step aside.
Donald Trump lamented the departure of his labor secretary, especially since there was nothing to see here.
I did have a falling out a long time ago. The reason doesn't make any difference, frankly, but I haven't spoken to him in probably 15 years or more. I wasn't a big fan of Jeffrey Epstein, that I can tell you. And now, if you look, the remnants hurt this man, and I hate to see it happen.
Trump claims he wasn't a big fan of Epstein? Please, there are enough photos of them together to make a friendship scrapbook. And suddenly it's all water under the Mar-a-Lago bridge? Classic deflection play.
I mean, you hate to see a guy like Alex Acosta hurt, you know? 3 weeks after Alex Acosta departed the Trump White House, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his prison cell of an apparent suicide. Donald Trump effectively turned the page on a massive scandal that had been enveloping his administration. Well, now that scandal's back again. And he's trying to weather the storm with embattled Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was the top cop in Florida for 8 years and who also never prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein in all that time.